like to call the Blackford County Drainage Board meeting for April 6th. To order, roll call. John is not here, Dan's here. Paul here, Bentley's here, Aubrey, is Aubrey? No, she's not here. First order of business is to approve the minutes on March 2nd. And I'm gonna look these over real quick, if you don't mind.
Well, you wouldn't think they'll see it.
I was here.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of March 2nd.
Second, all in favor? All right, motion carried 2-0. Like we're right on to old business. Ditch updates, Paul.
Mohi Dam, we had a meeting a week or two ago. Basically, it is on schedule. They were a little behind on underwater surveys, but they got those. So we're on track to go through bond July, August bond period.
On track to issue about July.
Yeah.
And that would be for
About $4 million.
for construction.
That's
This is gonna be the county's burden, right, Paul?
county's burden, yeah.
Do we have room for that in our finances?
Yes.
Okay.
It's roughly $250,000 a year forever.
Forever.
Well, we might as well say it forever. As far as we're concerned, it's forever.
20 years?
Danny, do you have a question?
Yeah. Are you gonna add ditch assessment to all them people out there to help pay for that?
Yes. And part of those ditches are in Delaware County. But the dam itself is it's a necessary part of the ditches, but it's beyond a reasonable amount, I guess.
But you said,
Yeah, but it will be part of the assessment.
I was wondering if he's gonna raise assessment on them out there, because I know you stated at one time that dam was taken out, the fall in that ditch from Delaware County down in.
Actually, all in Blackford County.
Yeah,
In that
all the
line.
way down through there would be such an issue, to have such a washing issue. So to me, it ought to be another assessment to them
Yeah.
to help alleviate their problems out there, to help pay for that. Instead of the rest of the burden coming to the rest of the public. That should be part of their issue also.
Unfortunately, I'm sure that it would be, we have to look at what's reasonable and affordable.
Yeah, or something
We can't
reasonable.
throw $4 million at those
Yeah,
roads.
it's just, yeah, but basically over time,
Yeah, you're basically looking at about $2,000 an acre. For the ditches, for the acre.
I understand, Paul, but that's, you go to a lower rate to kind of help. Like you're saying, this bond's gonna be forever, so why not another ditch assessment be forever to help pay?
Yeah.
Just throwing that in.
No, well, we've been working on, because part of that's, let's say about a third of that ditch is in Delaware County. Delaware County is very, very slow in getting us the names and stuff. We did have a board meeting for that very purpose, and we now have.
Good.
Well, we now have our list.
Good, I was just gonna ask you if we got that information
Yes.
from them.
Will that make that, will that make it open to public access? The county and public's paying for it?
The dam itself.
You mean the lake, Chris?
Yeah.
Boy, I've not even thought about that.
No,
Why would it?
because we just have the dam. if you look at the,
They don't have the lake without our dam.
yeah, but the dam is actually lined off when they originally set that up back in the eighties or late seventies, when they switched that over to the county. And it was just outlined as the dam.
Already?
I should clarify that the dam and the spillway.
Right.
Okay, so that's all that's.
The money burden part of the bond.
Yes, the money burden part of it, and they accepted that. I mean, that's the first thing they looked at is it our problem or their problem? And it is. And I mean, this is stuff that we've been working on the last 2 years probably, so coming in on the tail end of that, but yes.
And I'm sure Paul will have a lot of discussion of that scope of work.
Yeah, and
Before we get
actually, way that works, that puts it on the county council. It's not really the drainage board.
That's a good question though, Chris. So,
So,
does it become a public?
I'm always looking for a place to fish.
I knew there was an angle. No pun intended.
Come off the road.
That pond out there is as deep as it used to be.
Yeah, it's pretty shallow.
Yeah.
basically, told the people there, when that dam goes out, they better be ready to clean that lake really fast. But otherwise, it's just sedimented in. And I think that's the only reason it hasn't collapsed is because there's so much sediment behind the dam, but.
There's no hydraulic pressure really.
Right. Okay, so open ditch cleaning, we're, doing, Johnson, or it's not Johnson, McCully. Virgil Rogers, just the first mile after the pumping station, it's being brushed and cleaned, that actually is private work. Then we're working on, we rushed the McCammon ditch up to the property line of Grover and Carpenter, used to be Earhart. And Melvin Weaver upper end, brushed, straight and clean, 2 mile between 26 and 600. That's the next on the list. We're tiling on the Alfrey prong of the Little Lick, Panhandle prong of Green Lake. Also, as part of that, where the tile comes off the end of the Skinner Roush, which is Skinner Roush tile. So basically, we have the 4 Panhandle gas lines going through, and the old Skinner Roush tile kind of weaved through the pipelines. And the plans on the pipelines is, the shallowest point was 3 foot 8 inches. Put a 12-inch dual wall tile over top of that, you don't have 28 inches of clearance. So rather than go across the pipes.
I gotta get this, guys. My dad's not doing very well.
Oh, no.
So keep going, Paul. I'll be right back.
So rather than cross the pipelines, we're bringing a new Skinner Roush tile up on the west side of the pipelines. And bringing the Panhandle pipeline up to the east side of the pipeline, so we don't cross the pipelines. It just is fortunate the water will go that way. The pipelines were not excited about us trying to go underneath. And it would be difficult. The 30-inch pipelines are basically 6 foot down to begin with. The 24 and 22 are the higher pipelines. But by coming up on both sides, we'll clean up the drainage issue and be actually cheaper than hand digging across those pipelines. And less of an issue in the future. So, so that's the big thing there. The next one, is the Big Lick ditch at 100 West. Um, the engineering's taken quite a while on that. And once we got the engineering done and got approval from the Army Corps of Engineers out of Louisville, Army Corps of Engineers out of Chicago decided it was theirs to approve and not Louisville's to approve. So we finally do have Louisville approval. Meanwhile, an estimate of $700,000 to do that work is closer now to $1 million. Which the Big Lake ditch has roughly $700,000 in it. Anyway, I have talked to Sean Kleinpeter about possibly getting Indiana Bank bond to cover the rest of that. So that's in the process, whether or not that can even happen. Or the permits are good for 2 years. They can be extended one time. The cost of that project has gone up roughly $300,000 just in the 4 years of engineering and approvals. So it's just the way inflation is. And if we can get the Army Corps of Engineers to approve using Rock Creek rock instead of what they normally classify as Class 1 rock, that would be that $300,000. And because for some reason you can buy busted up rock in the form of gravel for $12 a ton, but the broken up, it's $40 a ton. I have no idea why they do it that way, but part of, and then the other problem with that is trucking, because those tear up the trucks. So you has to be somebody that has either a really heavy box or the nylon lined boxes to handle that stuff. So anyway, if we can use Rock Creek rock, which we've used it on other ditches without any issues whatsoever, but has to be approved by a bunch of bureaucrats. So anyway, that's there, and be nice to have that done this year. So that's on the updates. Maybe I missed Christy Drosky tile. We're figuring replace Christy Drosky. That's basically on to 200, go down to the railroad track, back up a little bit. The tile comes from the Big Lick ditch, goes across First Farm. There'll be a branch go across to the 3 lights, and then the tile will go across to Cape. Can't think of the last name. Lady owns those properties. Anyway, then I go across to the Kale Trust. And that's been wet holes there for quite some time. So that one probably won't get done as much rain as we've had before crops. But light farms both sides, and we're okay with going through beans.
What's the assessment gonna be on all these?
Those assessments are in place.
Okay. Just a question.
You want to come in because you should be interested in this, but I have January 1st balances from first day I was in office until now. Basically the total balance is within $50,000, so It's up and down every year because, sometimes you don't get billed.
I understand.
The work's done, but, the inflation factor here is so big that, if you don't use this year's money this year, it's not worth as much next year. So, and if you get a ditch done, it's actually worth more next year. So, that actually works in your favor. So, but, it's, the thing that we have in place now that you didn't have when you were in office last time was, a cumulative fund. The cumulative fund is roughly $2 an acre. And it doesn't get paid back.
Okay.
So, and it can only be used on new. And it does not require prepayment. So that's almost double the fund. It's a huge deal. So, so part of the issue that you run into is not how much you spend, it's how much you take in. Got to work on that. So that's, whole business.
Did I miss retention pond update watering?
No, I didn't give you one because there's been no change.
No change.
That's all right. That's all I needed to know. It didn't look like there were gonna be change. So, as I inspected routinely.
We're waiting on, we're waiting on the Senate to approve, budget for next year before December, or before November 1st. The budget needs to be approved by Congress.
Yep.
For the military before November 1st.
I've started planting trees on the south end of that.
Yeah, I see that.
Did you see a couple of those? Yeah, I'll tell you what, that clay is hard. They packed it hard. Anyway, sorry.
We've got topsoil there.
Yeah. Yeah, they do. All right, new business. Heather Weinbrenner with V3 Companies. Huh?
You had said she wanted to be on the agenda about
Oh.
the fiber optics.
Okay. Yeah, the right name I didn't recognize. I'll tell you what she wanted. She didn't ask to be on the agenda. We put her on because she contacted us. But, so they're going to be putting in fiber optic cables. So she was asking what they needed to do around ditches.
Oh, I see.
So I said 3 feet below the bottom, below the hard pan of the bottom, and 2 feet for every foot of depth of the ditch, beyond the ditch, both ways.
At that depth.
Yeah, at the 3 feet.
Okay.
She hasn't sent plans to me to
Right.
get approved.
She has not.
No. She was supposed to send them by this week to get approved, but she has not sent plans.
Right, she should have been before the commissioners.
For the right of way work. And what company is she with? The B3 company?
D3.
They're just a,
Subcontractor maybe?
I think, and they just put the empty tubes in the ground. before the
Empty
pipe
conduit.
goes.
Okay,
So,
well, we won't take any action on that.
It's along 300 south,
Okay, thank you, John.
probably from about 167 to the west,
yeah, we put it on,
300 east, 400 east, somewhere around in there, 300 east.
Is it going through the county then?
No, it was just that 1 mile stretch,
Oh.
one road stretch, not a mile.
One
It
road,
was
one road.
One road stretch.
Okay.
That was all on the preliminary
Okay.
stuff that she sent.
we put it on there because, we told her that she needed to get the request into us early Wednesday. Then we realized that had a half a day Friday, so we really had to have our agenda and then posted by noon the previous day. So we just put it on there, so it'd be on there.
For safety's sake.
Yeah, she hasn't sent anything to get approval for working the right of way yet.
All right, anything else then moves us to other,
That's the only thing there. there's been inquiries on that and are they looking at 200? Cause there had requests for information on 200 and also
I have a guy.
200, east.
I have a guy there, 200.
So they're looking at something there, so.
All right, nothing else? All righty, yeah. Motion to adjourn, Laura?
So moved.
All righty, all in favor? Yeah, we're going. Good day, thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Right.